So, hello friends, Kuyan here, and today we're on a crisis, a RAM crisis. And it's actually very interesting because I didn't know this was happening, like getting worse in over time when it comes to like from PC and stuff. Like I don't even know like how worse have been gotten. Like I've been hearing some news the RAM has been like $2K now, so that's actually pretty hard. So yeah friends, I am pretty curious about this. So before I'm going to play this, hopefully you can leave a subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm looking forward to get 500 subscribers in this year. So yeah, thank you for your support friends, and let's get right into the video.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Cold Fusion. Imagine walking into an electronics store a few years from now. The shelves are stocked, the displays still look familiar, but the prices make you pause. A laptop costs more than you expected. The release of a gaming console is postponed again. A phone upgrade quietly disappears from the lineup. And as a consumer, you don't immediately know why. There are no dramatic...
That's still crazy, like even phones are getting expensive because of the RAM. I thought only PCs are the only one who's affected by this.
headlines, no single event you can point to, just a feeling that buying technology has become more complicated than it used to be. This future scenario is already beginning to unfold. It's the computer...
And it's getting more complicated when it comes to the age verification too. Like even in California, they implemented some kind of age verification on Linux system. That's actually pretty sad, man. Like even System 76, also known as, Pop OS, that made Pop OS and computers and stuff, they have to unfortunately, make some age verification within their Linux system because of the law. And it's kind of scary if this is implemented, elsewhere around the world. So it is getting crazier in today's world. Hopefully, hopefully the people are waking up to this, because we don't want, age verification in our PC, of course.
There are enthusiasts around the world who began to feel it first. But why is all of this happening? Well, behind the scenes, a critical component of modern computing is under pressure. It's called random access memory, or RAM. It's the kind of hardware most people never think about, but it's vital to almost every electronic product.
It's kind of weird, kid, because in the past, when I was young, I always thought that RAM is a type of goat within the system of the computer, I'm pretty sure it is the goat. You can think of it like that.
We use. For the past few years, trillions of dollars have been flowing into AI data centers across the world. And for those data centers to run smoothly, one of the most valuable components is memory, or RAM.
Yeah.
In this new AI gold rush, RAM has become the shovel. It's the one component that every single serious player...
I think RAM, CPU, and drivers are also getting expensive nowadays, as I've heard.
...needs to keep digging. According to multiple industry reports, OpenAI has already secured an estimated 40% of global high bandwidth RAM. Right now, the shift in global RAM production is affecting computing, but if you're not a gamer and you think you're safe, think again. The price hikes will expand into a large array of electronic devices.
Artificial intelligence, specifically the absolutely insatiable demand for HBM, or high bandwidth memory, used in AI training hardware. Now, to be clear, HBM is not the same stuff that's in your laptop. It's a far different and more expensive product, but all memory shares the same wafer fabrication process, and it's a zero-sum game. Every wafer allocated to an HBM stack for an NVIDIA GPU is a wafer not making it into the LPDDR on your next laptop.
Meanwhile, NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang was in Seoul recently, reportedly chugging soju and demolishing Korean fried chicken with Samsung memory executives. The purpose of his visit was very clear: secure the RAM, lock it in, and make sure competitors don't get to it first. But why meet Samsung executives specifically? The South Korean company now makes more money selling RAM to data centers than it does selling phones.
Oh.
Other RAM manufacturers...
Wait, because of AI boom, Samsung unintentionally reversed the self-proclaimed prices from 1 year ago.
Have decided to stop selling to consumers altogether. AI data centers are just that much more profitable. That detail matters. It shows where priorities are shifting. If that shift continues, every consumer product that depends on memory will feel the pressure. Phones, gaming consoles, TVs, laptops, you name it. On the other hand, the country...
I'm pretty sure even Steam, also known as from, Valve, they are not selling Steam Decks now. They are, I think as I've heard, they are running out of stock because of this RAM prices too.
That's best.
And it's kind of sad, maybe the Steam Deck, or in this case, the Steam Machine, the Black Cube and stuff, won't be sold in the future because of this type of RAM crisis,
Positioned to take advantage of this memory issue may not be the United States or South Korea, but China. In today's episode, we're going to
China?
take a look at how memory became the choke point of the AI era, the companies behind it, and why the next technology shock may arrive without a single line of code changing. Let's get into it.
All of us are just like praying for the bubble to pop just so we can buy these cheap memories or RAM or, I guess these type of components for our PCs or cell phone for that matter.
You are watching Cold Fusion TV.
Cold Fusion.
We see data centers as the most exciting asset class.
Meta is building a 2 gigawatt plus data center that is so large.
I always wonder if there will be a time where we all can, own our own type of data systems, data centers.
It would
That'll be very interesting.
cover a significant part of Manhattan.
Or type of servers within it's like local servers.
Take a look at this chart. It shows the price of DDR5 RAM over recent months. For a long time, prices barely moved. They even fell slightly. Then, very suddenly, at the start of last year, it went parabolic. If you've been trying to build a PC recently, you already know what's going on. One single 256GB RAM kit can now cost more than a flagship GPU. In some cases, more than an RTX 5090.
This is actually, I've heard this is actually like more expensive than a car, as I've heard.
And that parabolic move is where the story begins. We'll come back to what really caused it later, but for now, let's look at what RAM really is.
This is usually like how RAM or CPUs are made. Like they need to be in a vacuum type controlled environment just to make type of this. And all robotics are the one who's going to laser light silicon and this stuff. So it needs to be like very accurate and like no human cells or dead cells can dust up the stuff like this.
If you're watching this episode, you already know the basics, but here's a quick refresher. RAM is short-term working memory. It's where data sits while the computer is actively doing something, opening apps, loading game assets, editing video, even switching between browser tabs. All of that happens on RAM. As computers do more, RAM matters more. In AI data centers, however, RAM is mission critical. The memory used to train and run large AI models operates under very different conditions from the RAM inside your laptop or gaming PC. These systems run consistently, sometimes for weeks at a time. A small error at home might freeze an app, but in a data center, that same error can crash the entire training run and waste millions of dollars in compute time. That's why servers rely on ECC memory or error correcting code RAM. Stability comes first. Slightly higher latency is fine, but crashing is not. As AI demand surged, more manufacturing capacity began flowing towards server-grade memory. Who cares?
That's the main reason why they also use Linux type of OS, because it's so stable to use all of this. Because if one thing fails, everything fails. That's why nobody likes using Microsoft. Even though I do heard that Microsoft has a Linux OS, that's actually very interesting, and also a server version of Microsoft Windows is actually very weird.
About consumer RAM. But there's a massive problem. Only a few companies can make that sort of thing. At this point, you might be wondering something. There's so many brands of RAM you can buy. It doesn't look like the market is controlled by scarcity.
Yes, it is. It's only made from Taiwan. Like as I've heard, they only make those type of GPUs and RAM like this, like very rarely.
Even though RAM sticks are sold under dozens of names, the most important part of the module is the memory chip themselves. Those small black rectangles soldered onto the stick. And here's the key point. Around 93% of those chips come from just 3 companies. They are Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron.
I don't remember anybody forecasting that all of a sudden AI data centers will be buying up so much of the
I thought only Taiwan only made RAM. I don't know, like Korea also makes some.
world's RAM that the rest of us would be scrounging for
I
leftovers.
guess chips is specifically made in Taiwan, I think.
These 3 companies control 93% of the world's supply of RAM. Of these 3, one of them just said, we're done with consumer business. We're just going to focus on enterprise now. We're going to focus on data centers because that's where the money is. And of the other 2...
And it's kind of worse, because there's a lot of, investors and stuff, investing all of this, money towards AI. And I won't be shocked, all those money will just use to buy more of these type of firms to improve their infrastructure. And, we're not stuff about any type of RAM or CPUs or GPUs for that matter.
Samsung and SK Hynix, they may have contributed as much as 40% of the world's entire supply of memory to a single project at OpenAI going on right now to create a massive set of AI infrastructure there.
When the world's electronics depends on just 3 companies, the system becomes fragile. One disruption.
Even in the internet right now, like it's also like 3 types of companies, like Microsoft, Azure, no, I think it's Cloudflare. Yeah, Cloudflare, Microsoft by their Azure Cloud, and Google. That's usually like the 3. Oh, no, also there's AWS by Amazon too. So those are like the only companies that, work the entire infrastructure of the internet.
One miscalculation, and the whole thing starts to wobble. A tightly balanced supply meets a sudden series of shocks.
That's beautiful stuff.
As we mentioned earlier, in October
It
2025,
seems like that was like a paint within the water. That's actually like very interesting.
OpenAI quietly locked up an estimated 40% of global DRAM production for its long-term AI infrastructure. Then, in late 2025, Micron announced that it was stepping away from consumer crucial RAM and SSDs. Its focus was going to be AI and enterprise buyers. The leftover consumer stock was expected to sell out by early 2026. And with that single move, the entire market shook. What followed was a scramble. Other tech giants realized that the window was closing. In January, Korean media reported that US big tech companies were staying in long-term hotels around Pangyo and Pyeongtaek, desperately begging Samsung and SK Hynix for DRAM allocations. The situation was reportedly so dire that industry insiders were even calling them DRAM beggars. Google reportedly tried to secure additional high bandwidth memory, or HBM. This is a specialized form of RAM designed to sit right next to AI accelerators. In Google's case, those accelerators are TPUs, or tensor processing units, Google's custom chips that power much of its AI training. The response they received was blunt. Supply simply wasn't available. According to reports, the executives responsible for securing that memory were later fired. Microsoft didn't fare much better. Also in a panic, executives flew to South Korea to negotiate directly with SK Hynix, and the talks went badly. One executive reportedly stormed out of the meeting. This was the environment during the price spike that you saw earlier. So given everything happening across the supply chain, it leads to an obvious question. If demand is so high and prices are rising, why don't memory manufacturers simply make more chips?
Why don't they just That's easy to say, man. Like, you have to mine all of those resources from possibly in Africa or somewhere in China too. So the resources are even like limited, and you only have like very specialized countries or companies in this case to even make more of those type of RAM. Not only that, also the package, the production and stuff, like everything is interconnected in today's world.
More? Well, for a couple reasons. First, as I've alluded to before, the current fabs that are used to make cutting-edge chips have a finite capacity. They already run around the clock with some of the world's most finely tuned supply management and highly trained engineers overseeing their operation.
Yeah, like they're even like try to wear all of this like type of stuff just so your human cells can't destroy all those like chips and stuff. Like they're the ultimate high quality.
It's not as simple as just adding a production shift or turning the machine up to 200%. Those are delicate operations, and if something goes wrong in the middle of a batch, it could be weeks or even months to build it again from scratch. So they're not gonna change things all willy-nilly. And second is that even if they could boost production to meet demand, both SK Hynix and Samsung have publicly stated they don't plan to because they don't want to.
That clip explains the core of the problem well. Once you accept that today's factories are already running flat out, the obvious follow-up is, why not just build new ones? This is where things slow down. People inside the industry are very clear about the timeline. One memory chip executive told Reuters that even after a company decides to expand, it still takes at least 2 years for new capacity to actually start producing chips. And that's the optimistic version, where everything goes according to plan. In tech, 2 years is equivalent to the time between now and the Egyptian pyramids. Building a fab means committing billions of dollars today based on what you think the demand would look like several years from now. And who knows what AI demand would look like then.
That's also like the problem too, because you're now over making this type of RAM now when the AI bubble already like popped. In this case, like a hypothesis, like you can't really anticipate the future. You're making more of this type of RAM in the future where the demand is now non-existent, So you have like a lot of this useless stuff that are yes, no one will buy it.
Everything could pan out, or it could be
Yeah.
a bubble. Even
Yeah,
Sam
could be a
Altman,
bubble.
OpenAI CEO, has openly acknowledged that the current AI frenzy may turn out to be a bubble.
It's an interesting time for the world's most prominent AI CEO to say this. So late last week, Sam Altman had a dinner with various journalists. It was on the record, and The Verge published this quote. So Sam Altman said, "When bubbles happen, smart people get overexcited about a kernel of truth. If you look at most of the bubbles in history, like the tech bubble, there was a real thing. Tech was really important. The internet was a really big deal. People got overexcited.
Or also the housing crisis when it comes to the 2008 financial crisis.
In a phase where investors as a whole are overexcited about AI?
That's why a lot of home today is also very expensive because, there's a lot of these investors trying to invest like home because, home is very important. Like people's population will increase over time and the prices of the house will also get up with value because, there's a lot of people who need home. That's why a lot of investors, they buy all this home to make the price go up. Their money unfortunately go up. So that's why also home today is now pretty expensive.
Opinion is yes. Is AI the most important thing to happen in a very long time? My opinion is also yes. So that was Sam Altman saying, we are in a bubble and investors are overexcited. He said elsewhere that he thinks some people will probably lose a lot of money.
There's also
Nice.
plenty of early evidence to suggest that OpenAI themselves will struggle financially in the future, and that uncertainty matters. If AI demand cools faster than expected in the next 2 years, it makes little sense for memory manufacturers to pour billions of dollars into equipment now. They're being extra cautious because they've seen this movie before. In the mid-2010s, memory demand surged as smartphones went mainstream. This was especially true when cheap mobile data exploded in fast-growing markets like India. DRAM manufacturers ramped up production. They were convinced that the growth would last, but it didn't. Demand cooled, the market flipped into oversupply, and prices collapsed.
I wonder how this will happen in the future, or when will this happen the next time around. And I don't actually know the history about smartphone where the DRAM has been upscaled to oblivion and the prices plummeted down. So it can make me wonder.
It's a painful memory that still hangs over the industry. So,
Interesting.
instead of a sudden flood of new factories to meet demand, what you get is hesitation, careful commitments, and a lot of waiting. Under current conditions of increased demand, the impact is massive, and we're already starting to see it.
RAM apocalypse. RAM.
By this point,
rampage.
the effects are no longer subtle. Inside the industry,
RAM price rampage.
executives have stopped speaking in hypotheticals. SK Group Chairman Che Tae-won said, quote, "These days we're receiving many requests for memory suppliers from so many companies that we're worried about how we'll be able to handle them all. If we fail to supply them, they could face a situation where they can't do business at all." End quote. All of that pressure is already spiraling into the real world. According to Reuters, Japanese electronic retailers have begun limiting how many hard drives their consumers can buy. Chinese smartphone manufacturers are openly warning of price increases. Apple is already deep in it as well. They're reporting paying a 230% premium for the 12GB LPDDR5X memory used in its iPhone 17 Pro model.
I always wonder when it comes to business and stuff. Is it always best to sell your product at a higher price or a lower price?
Chips that once cost $25 to $29
I
are now
think for us consumers, of course, we want the lower price and stuff. We want to buy a lot of those. So I guess it's also wise for a business to have cheaper products, I guess.
closer to $70 each on every phone. PC makers are facing the same reality. Lenovo and HP are scrambling to secure memory supply as shortages are expected to last until 2027. Dell, Lenovo, and Framework have also announced price increases.
The RAM-pocalypse continues! As RAM prices continue to rise, Dell, Lenovo, and Framework have all announced price increases and other changes due to DRAM shortage, with TrendForce even predicting that Dell and Lenovo may be going backwards and limiting devices to only have 8 gigs of RAM?
According to IDC research, in 2026, the whole PC...
I think I have an 8 gigs of RAM. I think in Linux, I was actually shocked by this, but I didn't know that you can make RAM within your hard drive. It's actually very fascinating. You can try to make, guess what's called? I think you try to, I don't know, I've actually forgot how to do it, but you can make a RAM within your hard drive where you just Yes, I don't know what you type from that, but I think it was like a Linux. I forgot.
market could decline by 4.9 to 8.9%, and smartphones 2.9 to 5.2% respectively. Consoles are under pressure too. PlayStation 6 and the next gen.
Wait, I'm actually very curious about friends. I actually need to check my task manager. Oh yeah, you call it a swap. It's called a swap file for your RAM. So I add an additional swap of 8 gigabytes within my drive. So yeah, I don't know actually how that works in the background. So yeah, you can seem to add like additional stuff within your Linux system. So that's actually very fascinating that you can change that within your system. So yeah.
Generation Xbox could face delays. Nintendo has already lost around.
So it does have some drawbacks, like as I've researched and stuff. Like it is very slow and it's not comparable to, true RAM rather than these swap RAMs.
And $14 billion in market value amid concerns over memory costs affecting the next Switch. Among the consumers, gamers are feeling it the most. They rely on high-performance GPUs, but those GPUs are rumored to push towards $5,000 price tags.
A recent report indicates that NVIDIA is going to be pushing the prices of RTX 5090 up to $5K. This is still an unconfirmed rumor from an insider source in South Korea, from what I can understand. That's kind of like, boots on the ground that's talking about it right now, which is where this headline is stemming from. Previous price was $2K. This is over double. That's an awfully hard bargain there. 5,000 clams, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Most sensible, sane human beings on the planet would be pretty upset about that.
Meanwhile, there's some dire warnings out there. CEO of the fabless RAM designer Phison states that many consumer electronics manufacturers, quote, will go bankrupt or exit product lines, end quote.
I don't get this. Like, how does like going up with your price when it comes to like, your product, especially from the CPUs, or I guess phones in this case, will get you bankrupt? I guess the prices are so high or so expensive in this case that they try to sell it at a higher price and nobody's buying it because it's pretty expensive. So I assume that's happening within this type of business,
By the end of 2026, due to the AI memory crisis, he claims that mobile phone production will be reduced by 200 to 250 million units, and PC and TV production will also be significantly reduced. We'll see if that pans out, but it does indicate some serious supply disruption. At this point, we need to talk about NVIDIA. The company built its rise on gaming GPUs, but now sits at the center of the AI boom, and they're one of the biggest beneficiaries. According to the publication The Information, NVIDIA will pause new gaming GPU releases for consumers in 2026 due to the shortage. It's a slap in the face for gamers. Meanwhile, their latest Blackwell systems are designed for data centers, not desktops. Each rack carries enormous amounts of memory, up to 864 gigabytes, and that's because modern AI models demand it. Multiply that across hundreds of systems that companies like Anthropic and Microsoft want to deploy, and the effect—
Was that a RAM? Like 800 gigabytes of RAM? Or was that I don't know, was the GPU? I wasn't paying attention.
It is obvious. Vast chunks of global memory supply disappear into data centers long before consumer hardware even gets a sniff. All of this leaves the market in an unusual place. The companies that built the modern tech stack are quietly reshuffling their priorities. To consumers, NVIDIA feels like a modern Judas, but that's just the way it is. But there's also a glaring problem with the data center build-out itself. What happens in 2 to 4 years?
I wonder, like, all of these type of, data centers, when the AI bubble will burst, like, man, all of these are, like, useless stuff, like, gonna be crazy. I wonder what will happen if I don't even know, like, what you can even do with all this, AI data centers, because all of this AI stuff is not making any type of money. You invest for a business to get money back, like, for example, food and this stuff. Like, I don't know what people are even like investing for AI.
Years when the very chips that have ruined the global RAM supply are hopelessly outdated for their original purpose. It's a question worth asking. And then on top of this, you have all the clueless investors jumping in on the hype. Frankly, it's insane.
So the problem with data centers is everyone thinks that data centers are real estate, and a lot of people do real estate. Data centers are not real estate. The common joke in the industry now is someone says, I'm going to have 100 megawatts of capacity for you, and I'm going to have it.
As I'm saying, friends, like all of these like data centers, they're not like anything that can produce money or stuff or give value for the people around, except food, of course. Food is, we can always eat in the end of the day, and we always need it. So like the foundation basic of humanity, and it's also the basic function of marketing stuff, I guess. So it's pretty useful, and yeah, all of this AI, I really don't understand. I'm pretty sure a lot of people really just love. It's like Bitcoin, I guess. You can treat AI as Bitcoin.
In 3 months, are you willing to sign? And then you ask a question like, well,
I mean, if you kind of think of it, also, friends, this is also the same as like the internet back in the day. From the, I think it was the dot-com bubble, and I think it's happened in 2000. That also like tried to get overhyped by the internet, and all of the lot of, I guess, these domains and websites have been made, and everything came crashing down. And from those ashes, does only some of them like kept alive, like eBay, Amazon, and I think Google. Those were probably Yahoo's, but Yahoo is like 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 the shadow of his former self. But that would be makes it very interesting, because if this AI does have some potentials in the future, I always like wonder which of these will survive in the bubble, when it comes to bursting.
what's your uptime? And they're like, I don't know, whatever the power grid is. And you're like, wait, what? Where are your generators? Oh, I haven't ordered those. I'll order them now. You know that there's a 90-month lead time on generators right now? Oh, really? The next 90. 90. And then the next question is, where are you getting the water from? Wait, data centers need water? I thought it was a bunch of chips. What do you mean water? So there's a bunch of people who have no idea what they're doing going into it because they think it's real estate.
You need water just to cool off all those generators on all the data centers too, because they come very, very hot. And not only that, you need to generate your own type of like electricity. That's why a lot of them like talking about nuclear reactions, because that's the only way for you to generate electricity in a safer way.
And so those people are now building an oversupply of data centers.
Or in a cleaner way too. So also like it also needs water, because the reactor within the nuclear core can actually also get hot, and that's where the energy came from. That's why a lot of steam going out from those like tube. Those are basically like water. That's why a lot of this like type of energy or nuclear reaction is just like heating up water.
But they're not really building them, so they're fake data centers that people think are real.
What happens next?
For now, there's no obvious release valve, but there is a dark horse in this story: China. Just as pressure mounts on traditional...
I also like heard about China and their AI and stuff. Like they've been improving and stuff. Like, it's actually very fascinating. I won't be surprised if China can just develop or even like steal or buy a lot of these like RAM and stuff. So I won't be surprised if they're also the one causing all of this too.
Centers of chip production, China is only a few years behind the cutting edge. Could the giant from the east swoop in and change the RAM apocalypse story? Possibly, but not overnight. China's leading DRAM challenger, CXMT, has recently announced that it's able to manufacture DDR5 memory. On paper, that matters, but there is a catch: timing. Most analysts believe that CXMT is still 2 or 3 years away from reaching the scale, yields, and consistency needed to meaningfully shift global supply. By then, today's contracts will already be locked in. Those contracts matter more than most people realize. SK Hynix has reportedly sold through much of its production well into 2026. That means that even if AI demand cools...
So it's basically like having, I guess, a preparation for your dinner table. So they're already like registered when it comes to those, dining table already.
The bubble deflates. The memory is already spoken for. Buyers who locked in early will still be expected to take delivery, often at prices set during today's peak. So even with new players entering the field, relief arrives slowly, and when it does, it's not going to feel evenly distributed.
I guess you're always...
So I've been covering neural networks on this channel for over a decade. Before ChatGPT and before the hype, I was really fascinated by the raw potential of this technology. But what we're seeing now just feels different, louder, messier, harder to justify. Between the water usage...
You're kind of like uncertain, like you don't know when will this all AI bubble will pop up. Like, can't even like see what the valuations and stuff. Like, I don't know what money are they even like getting from all of this,
The electricity demand, AI-induced psychosis, non-consensual generated images, and the growing flood of low-effort AI content. It's fair to pause and ask a difficult question. Are the benefits of consumer-generated AI still worth the cost, especially when the fallout isn't abstract anymore? So what's your take on all of this? Do you think that the RAM shortage is just a necessary step to get to where we need to be? Or
I think for us consumers, no, but for capitalist, corporate stuff, they will say, yes, very yes. They're already like having all these deals.
Have tech CEOs become a bit overzealous, and this is all a
Yes.
big mistake? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. It's abundantly clear that AI is everywhere these days, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
But have you ever thought about how artificial intelligence works in the first place? Well, if you have, brilliant is for you.
And yeah, that's the end of the video. It's just an ad from the video, but yeah, you should go check out Cold Fusion. I've been watching them, and it seems like you're all loving Cold Fusion for some reason. So yeah, that's why I just like watched this. It's actually recently uploaded, like just today, like an hour ago. So yeah, it's actually very fascinating, like how this RAM crisis has been getting all of our nerves as like all the tech people and this stuff. So it's actually very fascinating. I don't know if there's a lot of tech people trying to watch all of this video, because you all seems to like really love all of my Cold Fusion videos reactions. So yeah, it's actually pretty fascinating. So I still don't know like how this will go in the future. It is pretty scary and very uncertain because of AI, man. Like even I'm not invested when it comes to AI. I always just invest all of those like boring stuff like food and oil and stuff. Like hopefully like some amazing companies that can hopefully give some food and stuff and give some value to humanity at all. But this type of AI, I don't even know, like what do you use your AI about? Can you tell me, friends? I'm actually like curious. If you want to comment below, like what do you even use for AI? Like if you are buying subscription for them, like what's even the point? Like some of them are also like very illegal and stuff, as I've also heard like very dark stuff that has been happening in the background. So yeah, and I don't even know, man. Like I guess we all just want to pray that the RAM that the AI bubble will hopefully burst in the future, so we can finally buy all of our RAM and stuff. So yeah, friends, thank you for watching, and good. Wait, is it morning? Oh, it's still morning. It's 8 minutes before afternoon. Oh no, it's already 12, so I guess it is the afternoon. So yeah, good afternoon, friends.